Deep within the classified archives of the Cold War, among the blueprints of nuclear submarines and orbital satellites, there exists a machine so bizarre and so massive that when American spy satellites first captured its graining image in 1966, the intelligence community in Washington was left in a state of absolute shock. Sitting on the shores of the Caspian Sea was a gargantuan craft, stretching over 300 feet long, sporting stubby wings and 8 massive jet engines mounted directly behind the cockpit. It didn't look like a ship, and it certainly didn't look like any airplane the world had ever seen. To the CIA analysts who spent sleepless nights trying to decipher its purpose, it became known as the Caspian Sea Monster. But to the Soviet engineers who built it, it was the KM, the Korabl Maket, a revolutionary breakthrough in physics that promised to change the face of naval warfare forever. This was the Ekranoplan, a beast designed to haunt the waves, moving at speeds that made traditional warships look like they were standing still, all while staying low enough to vanish from the radar screens of the Western world. The secret behind the Ekranoplan's terrifying power lies in a phenomenon known as the ground effect, a cushion of air that forms between a wing and a flat surface when flying at extremely low altitudes. While a normal airplane struggles against the drag of the open sky, the Ekranoplan embraces the surface of the water, riding on a pressurized bubble of air that significantly increases lift and efficiency. This allowed a machine weighing over 500 tons to lift off the waves and skim across the sea at staggering speeds of up to 300 miles per hour. Imagine a vessel the size of a football field, flying just 20 feet above the water, capable of carrying hundreds of troops or several nuclear missiles across the ocean in a fraction of the time it would take a destroyer. It was a technological marvel that defied the traditional boundaries of engineering, a hybrid of aeronautics and naval architecture that sought to exploit the very physics of the Earth to achieve total dominance over the sea. The man behind this madness was Rostislav Alexeyev, a visionary genius and a favorite of the Soviet leadership, who saw in the Ekranoplan the ultimate weapon against the United States Navy's carrier strike groups. Alexeyev wasn't just building a transport, he was building a predator. The most famous of his creations, the Lun-class Ekranoplan, was equipped with 6 massive P-270 Moskit-guided missile launchers mounted on its back. These missiles were designed to fly at supersonic speeds, hugging the waves to strike American ships before they even knew they were under attack. The Ekranoplan was the perfect stealth weapon of its era. Because it flew so close to the water, it was practically invisible to the sonar of submarines and stayed beneath the detection horizon of the era's long-range radar. It could strike from the mist, deliver a devastating blow, and vanish back into the horizon at speeds no interceptor ship could ever hope to match. It was a ghost made of aluminum and jet fuel, a nightmare lurking in the landlocked waters of the Caspian. However, the dream of the Ekranoplan was as fragile as it was ambitious. To operate such a machine required nerves of steel and perfect conditions. Flying at 300 miles per hour just a few feet above a turbulent sea meant that a single rogue wave or a moment of pilot error could lead to a catastrophic disintegration. The KM, the original monster, eventually met its end in 1980 when a pilot, blinded by spray and confused by the horizon, tilted the massive craft during takeoff. The wing clipped the water, and the 500-ton beast was torn apart, sinking to the bottom of the Caspian Sea where it remains to this day. Beyond the physical dangers, the project was plagued by the shifting sands of Soviet politics. When Alexeyev's patron, Nikita Khrushchev, was removed from power, the funding for these experimental giants began to dry up. The Soviet military high command, often traditional and suspicious of magic solutions, never fully committed to the Ekranoplan as a primary tool of war, leaving these magnificent machines to rust in secret docks while the empire crumbled around them. Walking through the abandoned naval yards of Dagestan today, one can still find the hollowed-out carcass of the Lun-class Ekranoplan, sitting like a beached whale on the shores of the Caspian. It is a haunting sight, a relic of a future that never arrived, covered in rust and bird droppings, yet still possessing an aura of raw power and untapped potential. Its 8 engines are silent, and its missile tubes are empty, but the sheer scale of the machine serves as a monument to a time when humanity dared to build the impossible. For the United States and the West, the Ekranoplan remains a fascinating what-if of military history. What if the Soviet Union had perfected the technology? What if fleets of these monsters had been deployed in the Atlantic? The Caspian Sea Monster stands as a reminder that the line between a brilliant breakthrough and a monumental failure is often as thin as the cushion of air that kept the Ekranoplan above the waves. It was a beautiful, terrifying mistake, a monster that was too big for its world and too fast for its time.